my name is James and welcome to Mirror Domains. And this is a list of the best and worst of 2010. Now, this is the, five weeks away from the end of this decade. And everybody's going to do their end of year lists, like the best of the year, the worst of the year. And it's time to do the best and worst of the decades too, right? For this decade, 2010 to 2019, I figure, well, I'm going through the list anyway to do, compile it all and then have it so that you guys can watch it in an entertaining fashion. But I figure, why not have you join me along the journey? And what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to pull up a web page that'll show the releases in an order that will have them like in dates and such. And what we'll do is we'll just talk about them, and I'll take some notes as to which ones I want on the best and which ones are on the worst. And hopefully at the end, when I put all of the years together, I'm going to take the best 3 from each year and the worst 2. And we'll put, little polls up in the YouTube cards and on my Twitter page. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, I'll leave links to that. And I'll put up links of what's the best and what's the worst, and you guys can vote on them. And the way that this will all go, this will all go in a playlist for the decade, and this will be like 2010 movies only. And towards the end of the week, I'll do a 2011, and hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have all of the years counted up, and we'll have a nice list of about 30 good movies of the best of the year to choose to, get down to the best 10, and then we'll have about 20 worst to whittle down to about the worst 10. Yeah, it's a little an idea of mine that hopefully will work, and we'll let's just start and see how it goes. So 2010, let's pull that up right here. Starting January 8th. This is a while back. So here's the movies that have come out on this week, and we'll just scroll through it and we'll talk about anything that jumps out at you, or me more or less, and anything that doesn't. Daybreakers was the movie that I saw this year. Okay, that was Ethan Hawke was vampires. That was an interesting idea. It wasn't the best of the year. Book of Eli, I think may appear on some people's lists. It wasn't for me. Legion may be on the worst. Tooth Fairy. Yeah. Let's just continue scrolling down. Seeing nothing really jumps out at me here. Dear John. No. My Name is Khan. That will be on a lot of people's foreign movie lists. A lot of people like that movie. If you're not a huge foreign movie buff, then it may not, resonate with you. The Wolfman may be on people's worst list. It's not on mine. Valentine's Day, Percy Jackson. It's whatever. Scrolling down, continue on. Shutter Island is the first one on the list here that I'm going to put in on the best of that year, for sure. Shutter Island. What a twist. What a twist. Twist ending. Cop Out, one of the worst movies of the year. Definitely going on the worst movies of the year. The Crazies. Nice little, it's not like a zombie, but it is some kind of a virus thing. I thought that one was a nice little lower budget horror movie. Definitely on one of the best of the years. Birdemic, I'm not even going to acknowledge that. Alice in Wonderland, not so good. Remember Me. No, I don't want to remember you. The Red Baron. No, I didn't see that one. Chloe, okay. Grizzly Man, a documentary. Werner Herzog, oddly enough, who is in The Mandalorian right now, directed this. It's about a guy who was obsessed with grizzlies. He wanted to film them out in the nature. He got so close to them, one day they just decided to eat him. Oh, that's not funny, James. Come on. Well, it's actually a very good documentary, and obviously you know how it's going to end. But Werner Herzog handles it in such a manner, it's fascinating, and that's got to be on one of the best of the year. Okay, scrolling down, continuing on. Inside Man, nah. Hot Tub Time Machine may be on some people's lists. It wasn't that funny. It was okay, but not epic or anything. Clash of the Titans, nah. Date Night, no. The Square, no. Never even heard of it. Oh, Kick-Ass. Kick-Ass will be on my list for sure. One of the best of the year, for sure. I like that movie. It came out of nowhere, really, and it caught people off guard on how good it was. Yeah. Okay. Let's keep on going here. Losers. Nightmare on Elm Street remake. No. I mean, it was an okay attempt, but then they tried to give Freddy too much of a backstory and a reasoning as to why he was doing the stuff that he was doing. And I'm like, no. Don't try to humanize him. He's a monster. Yeah. I like the cast, though. Rooney Mara was in that. I like that. Okay, scrolling down. Iron Man 2 will be on some people's worst list. For me, I think I don't think it's a bad film, actually. I like that film a lot because of Justin Hammer. Sam Rockwell. I'll watch him in anything. So it's not on my worst list. Continuing on, we're only in May. Let me know if anything jumps out at you in the comments below. I am not seeing a whole lot here. MacGruber will be on some people's best. It's unfortunately going to be on my worst. I thought that movie was just terrible. The acting was over the top. It was just a little too on the nose for me. And, I gotta put that on one of the worst. Sex and the City. I never saw it. I know that'll be on some people's worst. Prince of Persia. It was meh. Marmaduke. No. Splice. Okay, there we go. There's one. That's a nice little sleeper hit. That's, it's not on the best of, and it's not on the worst, but it's something that, if you haven't seen it, it's worth seeing. Splice. It's a nice little sci-fi horror that goes into some weird places where you're just like, I don't know how I feel about that. Yeah, nice little film. Karate Kid, the remake, the A-Team, no. Winter's Bone, critically acclaimed film, introduced us to Jennifer Lawrence. Definitely going to be on people's best of the list for this year anyway. It's not going to make my best of the list. It's not going to be in the top. Continuing on down, Grindhouse. I remember seeing that in the theater. That was a nice little film in the theater. Well, not little. It was like 3 hours. Jonah Hex. That's going to be on one of the worst of the year for a lot of people, I think. It was just an atrocity. It was just, luckily it was only like an hour and 28 minutes or something. Toy Story 3 will be on one of the best, list of the year for a lot of people, I think. That one was probably my favorite out of that franchise. Night and Day, meh. Grown Ups, that was really, just got over the hump of, where's Adam Sandler going now with his career? And this was kind of like the last one that sort of had any goodness to it, and then it just all went downhill from there. Love Ranch, never saw it. Oh, this is going to be on the worst list for a lot of people. The Last Airbender. Now, I wasn't familiar with the source material. This movie made a lot of people famous. It made a lot of YouTubers famous for their hatred of this movie. I didn't hate it. I just didn't think it was all that good. It was Shyamalan. It was the movie that broke his streak. It tore him down, and it was just kind of like, yeah, The Last Airbender is definitely going to be on the list of the worst of the year. Just because you got to succumb to social pressures every now and then. Predators. Yeah, that's going to be on one of the best of the year because I like action. And as far as a sequel goes, Predators was better than last year's Predator that came out. I just like this movie. It was small. It was concise. It was straightforward. That's going to be on my best of the year. Inception. That's definitely going to be on the best of the year for a lot of people. If not your number one, it's going to be up there for sure. Christopher Nolan, he had done Batman before that, and people were just getting to know who this guy is. I mean, he did other good films up till now, so it was just kind of like this one really put him in the limelight. It was just like, is it his best film? Let me know in the comments below. Valhalla Rising, no, thank you. Yeah, Nicholas Winding Refn. No thanks. Salt. Charlie St. Cloud. Is it one of the worst? Meh. Dinner for Schmucks definitely is one of the worst. I don't know what they were thinking with that one. They just got together and said, hey, let's just have fool around on the set, and hopefully it'll translate to the screen. It didn't. Get Low, Twilight Saga Eclipse, that'll be on the worst for a lot of people, just because of the cheesy nature of it. The other guys, meh. Step Up 3D. I like the Step Up movies. That was an interesting series. Scott Pilgrim versus the World. This will be on a lot of people's best of the year list, and it'll be on my worst of the year list. I didn't like it. I felt like it was stylized and was good if it was just a short, just like 20 minutes. We got the gist of what was going on, but then they take the same film and they make it like 8 times in a row or 6 times or whatever. Luckily, one of the boyfriends were twins. I know a lot of people will want to thumbs up it, but I'm probably going to get a thumbs down on this video simply because I didn't like it. It's not going to be the worst of the year, but it's going to be one of my ones where it's kind of like, I don't know what film you guys were watching. And that's the way that they'll look back at me and say, hey, well, why didn't you like it? It's just, it was mixed. Continuing down. Piranha 3D. That's a guilty pleasure of mine. Obviously, it's not one of the better films, but it's also not one of the worst. It's kind of like a fun little time at the movies with, it's that 80s schlock horror, It's cheesy. It's got some adult humor to it. It's got some nudity, 3D nudity. Yeah, it's an interesting little film. Takers. Oh, The American. Okay, that'll be on one of my best of the year. George Clooney. This was just like a small little film of his. He was doing this thing around this time where he had a lot of these smaller, little, lower budget films where if you've seen The American, it's kind of interesting. He plays a hitman. He has a target that he has to take out, and it's just a small little character study of this guy. And Clooney is so effective in roles like that. I want to see more of that from him. And we did actually later on, so that's cool. It's not going to be in the top 3 for sure, but it's worth noting. Continuing on down, I'm still here. Meh. Resident Evil Afterlife will be on a lot of people's worst list of the year. Not for me. Never Let Me Go. Okay, so Never Let Me Go. That's another little sleeper hit with Andrew Garfield and Keira Knightley, where they're clones and they're being bred for body parts to be harvested from them. Really weird, but it's not really about that. It's more about them finding each other, falling in love, and knowing that eventually they're going to have to be pulled apart because they got to be harvested. And what did they do with that? It's just a small little film. It's very interesting. If you haven't seen it, I totally recommend that. Catfish, another small one, easy A. Okay, scrolling down. Let me know if you thought any of these were cool. Buried. Yeah, that was just him being stuck in a box. Ryan Reynolds, I think it was, yes. Wall Street 2, meh. Case 39, meh. Oh, The Social Network. That's definitely going to be on the best of the list of the year. That's going to be one. Just breathtaking visuals, the storyline, the acting. Yes, David Fincher's one of his best works. I think it's got to be up there. Let Me In, remake of a foreign film. Yeah, that one was an interesting one. If you haven't seen the original one, I think it was was it Swedish? Let me know in the comments below. But this one had Chloe Grace Moretz in it, and it kind of retold it in an interesting way. It's a very haunting story. It's not a straightforward horror movie about, is it about vampirism? I won't spoil it for you. It's kind of, it's an interesting little take if you haven't seen it. Continuing on, what do we have? Not a whole lot of stuff. Secretariat. Good cinematography. Tamara Drew, if you're a big Gemma Arterton fan, which I am, I saw that film. It's pretty dry and boring, but you get to see her in some short shorts. Jackass 3D. I love the Jackass films. Now, they're not really films. They're like small little, it's like a collage of scenes, but I like it. I like the cast. I thought that one was 3D. That one was pretty cool. And of course, those ones have like sequels, like 0.5, and you can see all the outtakes. Paranormal Activity 2. Now, we're just at the end of October here. Continuing on. Not a whole lot there. 127 hours. Maybe on a lot of people's best of the year list. Danny Boyle, the guy who cuts off his arm to get out of the cave because the rock fell on it. Due date, meh. That one wasn't all that good either. Skyline, small little B sci-fi adventure. That's kind of interesting. That one was interesting except for the last couple scenes where you're just kind of like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Unstoppable. It's a train. It's Denzel Washington and Chris Pine. They got to stop it before it crashes and destroys a whole bunch of people. Sorry about that. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Did that come out that year? It must have. The Next 3 Days. Very interesting film about a guy whose wife is accused of murder or something like that, and he's got to break her out of jail. Russell Crowe does a fantastic performance in it. I would recommend it if you haven't seen it. Burlesque. That may end up on people's worst list. Not for me. Love and Other Drugs. Anne Hathaway. Very interesting performance from her. She's like a drug addict. And it's got some things in there that you may want to see. King's Speech, that'll be on a lot of people's best of the year list. For me, the Oscars recognized it for sure. I didn't really think it was all that good. Black Swan. Black Swan will be on my list for sure. Best of the year for sure. Yeah, I'm going to have to start writing this down. The Fighter. Okay, let's talk about The Fighter because I think The Fighter is a good film, but I wouldn't say that it's the best of the year. It definitely had a lot of good things going for it. Obviously, it was the performances, and the Academy recognized it for that. I think that a lot of people will have that on their best list. Scrolling down, Yogi Bear may be on the worst list of the year. I think that that's not going to be on mine. I just think that this year was fairly good. It was mixed, and that's it. Blue Valentine will be on some people's lists for the best, and so will Gulliver Travels for being on the worst of the year. Okay, so that's it. Let me just pull up my little page here, and I pulled up what's... there's some of the movies that I pulled for the best and worst. I just want to think about how this is going to work. How can I make this a little bit more attractive for you guys? Because I'm just putting it on a spreadsheet. Let me know what your best and worst are of the list in the comments below. But for me, I'm going to pull up 3 right away. I'm going to say Inception has to be on the top 3. The Social Network has to be in the top 3. And Black Swan has to be in the top 3. I know Winter's Bone, The Fighter, and King's Speech is going to be up there for a lot of people. But yeah, those are my 3. And for the worst, I'm going to say The Last Airbender is going to be on the worst. And I'm going to say Jonah Hex is going to be on the worst. Okay, so that's how it's going to work. I'm gonna create a list here, an informal list, and that's 2010. So let me know in the comments below. I'm going to put that up, and I'm going to put a poll for the best and worst, and you guys can vote if you want to, and we'll just collect it all, and I'll let you know how it goes when we get to the end, and we're going to compile it all into the best and worst of the decade. So that's how it's going to go. Pay attention to the playlists, because this is going to be a part of a playlist, and we'll be able to, just enjoy the movies of this decade. So, later in the week, we'll do 2011 and just continue on. This was kind of fun. Let me know how you thought about it in the comments below, and let's talk about these movies as we try to wrap up this decade. That's it. YouTube is recommending a video for you to watch right there, and you can see my latest one just right up here. My name is James, and you're watching Mirror Domains. If you've liked what you've seen, please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe.